Hello, and welcome to the Two Scaredy Cats podcast, where we talk about all things strange, unusual, and paranormal. We're your hostess with the mostess. I'm Stacy, and Kara's not here this week because she just got married and she is on her honeymoon. So it's just me this week. I'm sorry. I have a great episode lined up for us today. We are going to be talking about cannibalism and cannibals. So why don't you sit back in your chair and relax? First off, though, I wanted to say hi to everybody and thank you for hanging out with us today on our podcast here, and say welcome to any new people that might be joining us from wherever you're joining us from. So today's story is all about Swaney Beam, and he was the cannibal of Scotland. So Swaney Bean and his family of cannibals was a 48-member clan, and they were a product. This was a product of incest and inbreeding within this family during the 16th century in Scotland. This clan was responsible for murdering and eating more than 1,000 people. So that's pretty crazy that these 48 people managed to eat over 1,000 people. So the story goes that Alexander Swaney Bean, as he was known, lived in a cave between Girvan and Ballantrae with his 40-plus member clan who murdered and cannibalized more than 1,000 victims. So Bean moved into this cave with his girlfriend named Black Agnes Douglas after leaving his home. He lived with his dad, and he got tired of living there, so he left and decided he was going to go live on his own. So neither one of these two had a real job or any type of income coming in. So they figured out that it was easier for them to ambush travelers on the highway and lure them back to their cave where they would rob and then kill them. So they did this for many years. But soon they realized that they had this big pile of bodies, and their concern was that somebody was going to find them out. So what they had to do then is they needed to get rid of these bodies to avoid being caught. So then they decided that they were going to start eating the flesh off their victims, and they would pickle the leftovers, and then whatever was left after that, all the bones and that were discarded and thrown into the ocean. But occasionally, because of storms or currents or whatever was going on, the remains that they had thrown out into the ocean would wash up on nearby beaches. And people were, talking about this and wondering, why are all these bones washing up and what's happening to the people that these bones belong to. So Bean and his wife and his family, they had this cave that they hid out in, and it was a 590-foot deep cave, and the entrance of it would get blocked by water during high tide, which helped them avoid detection from the police and that for over 25 years. So during this time, the couple gave birth to 8 sons and 6 daughters. And their children helped produce 14 granddaughters and 18 grandsons, and this all happened through incest. So over the years, the clan would go out at night and carry out ambushes to rob and murder individuals when they would bring back the corpses when they were done to the cave, and then in the cave they would dismember them and eat the victims that they had killed. Now, locals thought that wild animals were the ones that were responsible for all these killings going on and all these bones showing up on the beaches and that from, animal attacks and stuff. But one of their last robberies was the one that ended up doing them in. So what happened was, on this particular night, they tried to ambush a husband and wife who were traveling on horseback along the coast. So they attacked the couple, and they managed to kill the wife, but the husband defended himself and managed to get away. So the husband went and informed the local magistrate about what had happened to him and his wife and, how he had gotten attacked. So King James IV organized a search party then of over 400 men and a couple of bloodhounds to go try and find the people that did this to this gentleman and his wife. So there's this huge search party. They're looking all over trying to find Bean and his family. They end up finding them in the cave with the clan inside. And they also find all the dismembered corpses that they had been killing over the years. So the clan was captured, and they were taken in chains to a place called the Tolbooth Jail in Edinburgh. And then soon after they were all captured, all 48 of them were executed without any type of trial. Now, during this time, Scotland was very big, their court system, and they believed that everybody deserved a fair trial, and, a person was innocent until proven guilty. But with as brutal as the killings were in this particular case, and the many people that they had dismembered and eaten and all that, they decided that they were to be executed without a trial. They deemed these people undeserving of one due to their heinous crimes. And that's kind of what happened to Bean and his family. Now, in Scotland, a lot of times families and parents especially will use this the story of Bean and his family to try to steer their children away from a life of crime or, growing up and being bad and doing, monstrous things to people. So in my research for trying to find, a topic for today, and I somehow got down this road of cannibalism, I came across a couple of cases, not your normal high-profile ones that we hear about all the time, like, Ed Gein, who's really popular, very popular story. They've made many movies off of him and the horrendous things that he did to his victims. And Jeffrey Dahmer, Netflix just did that whole show on him. They had that whole show on him, which was really good, actually. Showing how, his growing up and how he came to be the person that he did. But anyway, while I was looking all that information up, I came across 2 more cannibalism cases that I thought were really interesting, and they're pretty current. They were, they happened in the 2000s here. And I had never heard of them, and they were interesting, just the way they came about and how they, searched out their victims and stuff. So I wanted to share these with you, our listeners, these stories. So the first one is called The Master Butcher. And this is about a gentleman by the name of Armin Meiwes. And this story is out of Germany. So the story goes that Armin found his victim, Bernard Wergen Brandes, over the internet. Now, Brandes was this IT manager, and he had posted an advertisement online. I don't know whether he was joking or if he was dead serious. But what he posted online was that he wanted someone to obliterate his life and leave no trace. Now, our friend Armin took this to mean that he wanted somebody to kill him. So he reached out to Brandes, and he ended up taking Brandes ends up taking a train to meet Meiwes in a western town in Germany of Rottenburger in March of 2001. And there, the cannibal videotapes himself severing Brandes's penis with a knife and feeding it to both of them. Now, while he's doing this, feeding this to him and his victim ends up passing out because of how much blood he was losing at this time. So while he's passed out, with the recorder still rolling, he laid Brendan on the bench, kisses him on the lips, and then plunges a knife into his throat. He then carries him and hangs him on a metal hook and froze 30 kilograms of his flesh into parcels, and later ate some of his flesh with cabbage and potatoes. I don't know about you, but that is like really disturbing. I don't even know what to say, but some people just are, yeah. So that was our first story. Our second story is about a woman. Her name was Tamara Samsonova, and she's known as the Granny Ripper. So she was suspected of eating her victims' organs and especially loved the lungs. So they happened to discover her when the St. Petersburg police found a headless body of a lady by the name of Valentina Yulova near a pond. Now, as it turns out, this lady named Valentina was one of the many victims of Tamara. And Tamara was actually caught on closed-circuit TV removing the victim's body in a black bag and taking the body to the pond. So they actually caught her on video, taking this body without its head to this pond. So the story, or what later came out when they were interviewing Tamara, was that the victim, Miss Yulanova, had been drugged by her and then was cut into pieces with a hacksaw. So she drugged her and then she was cutting her up with a hacksaw. I could only imagine how bad that must have been. Interestingly enough, though, that after they caught Tamara for Yulanova's murder, they ended up finding that she was involved with a murder spree that she had at least 11 other victims that had taken place over 2 decades. So when they were interviewing her and asking her, well, why did you do this? And, how did you find these people? Or what was your reasoning behind this? She just said that she had been wanting to eat somebody for so many years. And that was basically her whole reasoning for why she did what she did. She just had this overwhelming urge to eat someone. So when they and she also had diaries that she had written about all of the victims that she had, and she went into great detail about and described the way that she cut them, or how she first killed them, and then how she would cut them up, and how she dissected them, all that. And so when the police went to search Tamara's apartment, or flat, they found diaries that were very revealing about how she went into great details about each murder. But they also found the knife that she had used to cut up her victims, and they found some blood smeared in the bathroom, which they think is where she did a lot of the dismemberment for some of her victims. People think that her husband, who she reported missing in 2005, was one of her victims. To this day, he has never been found. They don't know what happened to him. She, like I said, she reported him missing, and nobody has seen him since. But a lot of people basically speculate that she ended up killing him, and he was one of her victims. But she was really interesting in that she kept a diary in great detail of, each victim, and she went into details about, them and their lifestyles and stuff like that. And then she would talk about, the different ways that she prepared them after she had cut them and taken out their, what she made with their organs that she removed and stuff like that. And so she just had all this information that they were able to use against her, so that she could end up going to jail for her crimes. But anyway, yeah, so that's basically all I have today. Like I said, it's just all about cannibalism and how, people, decide to eat other people. And just, what goes on. Why do people feel like they need to eat a person? I don't understand. I guess we never really will. A lot of times these people have a lot of things that happen in their life that trigger this in them, I guess. I don't know. But as I said, Kara is she got married last Saturday. It was a very lovely day. The ceremony was wonderful. The venue was nice. Everything turned out really great. We got to go over to a park that was nearby the church that the church venue was, and we took pictures over there. It was a little chilly, but it was still, nice and sunny. The weather was fine. And the venue where she got married, though, was pretty cool. It was it's a Gothic revival church, actually, that they had, was originally built down the street about 3 or 4 blocks. And they ended up deciding to move it. So they basically put the whole thing on a trailer or a buggy or whatever, or a truck, and they drove it up the road to the new location, and they ended up actually moving the foundation that had originally set on brick by brick or stone by stone to put it in, so it stayed with the original church. There's gorgeous stained glass windows in there that are original by a couple of artists from the Cincinnati, the state of Ohio. That was really cool. The stained glass windows are gorgeous. Like I said, the church has been around since the 1800s. It was a German and Welsh, I'm going to say. It was a German and Welsh church. So they had two different groups of people that would meet there. So they would take turns, like, one would have one day and one would have the other. And they had 2 completely different pastors for the church, and, all these different people that you would need for, the church. So that was really neat. But now it's just a venue that anybody can rent. It's non-denominational, very nice, very neat place. And everything went really well. Like I said, Kara's on her honeymoon. I promise she'll be back in 2 weeks for our next episode. Nothing else is really going on. Just trying to recover from the wedding and everything leading up to the wedding and all the craziness that ensued. So I guess we will be back in 2 weeks with another exciting new episode of the Two Scaredy Cats podcast. If you liked what you heard today, please be sure to leave a review, because that is how we get discovered. Also, don't forget to like and follow us on Instagram, when you can find out about the shenanigans and the other things that are going on in our lives. And I guess that's it. So, remember, curiosity didn't kill these 2 scaredy cats.